of stepping in front, and if you notice your body twists a little, that's what nature asks it to do, and usually it's correct. It's very rare that it wants you to do it. It doesn't look very pretty, okay? So you turn your body that way. It's really also a quick body. For those of you who can remember what that is. All right, it's called a grapevine. A grapevine in Latin means 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay. Next.
was all of this place like? I mean, were there populations here? Were there Palestinians living here? Was there communities here? Was there a national, some kind of a national fervor that existed here? Before World War I, you would have found many Jewish communities, because that was the period that we were talking about on the bus, of the days of Baron de Rothschild, purchasing land from Ottoman Empire, and establishing those cities and towns that we've already even begun to mention. There was no other national group of people that were living in any kind of a governmental way. In other words, there were Arabs living here, but those Arabs were being invited in to work for Jews. They had been invited in to work for the Ottomans before them. It was an area that was pretty much dominated, particularly by three major empires: the Ottoman Empire, the Persian Empire, and the Egyptian Empire. And at different periods throughout history for the last 2,000 years, they were competing with each other, and different other empires were involved as well. But before World War I, it would be those three major empires. They, in turn, the Ottomans, and that's who controlled this area, would appoint various sheiks and Bedouin sheiks particularly, and intermediate level managers to pretty much run the affairs of their territory that they were in control of. And they were the chief honchos of the area. World War I changes everything, because the two major empires that would conquer Palestine and the whole region, the whole Middle East for that matter, would be England and France. And it would be England and France right from the very onset that would be determined to create some kind of an understanding and a control over their own national interests. Now, towards the end of World War I, something major happens in England. How did the British write what would become for us our first deed for establishing a homeland in Palestine, the Balfour Declaration? Mostly because of Chaim Weizmann. Chaim Weizmann was a chemist. And as a chemist, he had found a way in order to obtain acetone from corn. Now, why is that significant? Because the British had utilized all its acetone in the making of smokeless gunpowder. And smokeless gunpowder. Now, remember, World War I was all fought on battlefields. If you had smoke coming from the enemy, you know where their position was and hoped the British to win the war. But they had all of the ingredients for the making of smokeless gunpowder.
States that people had left their names inside barracks. Yeah. Just imagine being here all the heat of 100, 110.
That's why they would put those dishes. This was the water?
Yeah, there was a water tower, and now these are the faucets. There were latrines inside some of the buildings that don't exist right now, but just imagine, there were times when there were 3,500 people in this camp.
אנחנו סוגרים כפי שדענו. חוק בקובה, לא
הבנו, עכשיו.
David, how many inches of rain do you get a year?
In this, further down into the desert, you're talking about 40 millimeters, yeah, which is desert.
How many inches is that?
About,
7 inches?
not in the desert, 40 millimeters is not 7 inches of rain. It's less than 4.
And action.
Come over here. I want a still picture.
Okay, I'm coming. Smile. Big smile.
And there is Paul in Caesarea Beach. Hi, Paul.
Hi, honey. It's been a long day at the beach. Can you still see me in the frame?
Yeah?
Where's my head cut off?
Well, as you come closer, your head will be cut off.
So I'm not cut off here?
No, you're fine.
Well, it's about 2:30, and we're in Caesarea. We just had falafel at the mall, just down the road.
Just down the water there.
Well, the mall's over there. They have nice, beautiful homes here. Now I'll walk to the camera. אוקיי, בסדר, רשמתי, אני אעביר לו את זה, אני מלא שתי
Is about to go into the theater, which you can see on this map. What this map really represents is the Caesarea of today, and what you can still see here in terms of the excavations that have been done. You can't see much of a wall that surrounded Caesarea, that defended Caesarea. The only wall that you saw was the Crusader wall that was built much later, after this wall would have been built. There are remnants of this wall out in that direction, and if we dug into the ground we would find more of it. We were just down over here at the aqueduct, and you saw the two aqueducts that I was showing you, the one that brought water from the Alligator River and the one that brought water from Shuni. And then there was an inner wall that was built in a different period, but all within the same period of the Romans. In other words, the Roman period, but one was a little later than the other. And the Crusaders came here in 1099. By 1100, 1103 already, they had this wall erected in order to protect their neighborhood, their community that they built here, right around the remnants of the old Roman port. Most of the Roman port, and this was the port. Right along here was the old Roman port. The port for the Crusaders, though, was only a small portion of all of that. And they just utilized an inner and an outer port. But during the days of King Herod, this port was much bigger. The city of Caesarea spanned from where you see the present-day Crusader walls. Well, it would have expanded actually from here all the way to here. But the Crusaders built only a partial of it. However, the excavations today are only between here and where we are right now. In the same area there was a hippodrome, and the hippodrome you're going to see when we go through the theater, and I'll show you the overall view of the excavations. And the main area that we're going to be focusing in on right now is the entertainment area where the theater is. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why did they excavate?
The Crusader city is also excavated.
Oh.
And they found foundations for a church, for two churches that you see here. These churches are not built today. And Also excavations that revealed a lot of what had been here previously, before the Crusaders. Okay, I want everybody to gather together over by these statues. Each one of those images had another kind of statue.
No wonder.
Now, one of the things that you first notice as you look at this is that most of them are headless or faceless. Some of them are even moiled. You know what the moil? You know what the moil is?
Now take a picture of me and Dad.
Oh, are you taking pictures?
We'll take a picture of us.
Was the Emperor. He accepted Christianity. His mother converted. They took the Bible in which it is against the law, against religious law, to create images, because Italians were crazy about statues. So they went about beheading and defacing. In some cases, they even took some of those statues and did a little added decoration and made them into Jesus or into Mary. But in most cases, they defaced them. It was called the iconoclastic period. There would be two iconoclastic periods in Israel's history, in the history of this area, and in the Roman Empire. One was during the Roman Empire, during this period that I'm telling you about. And then later on, the Muslims would have an iconoclastic period of their own. And they went about defacing these idols as well. So what you had was 2,000 years later, archaeologists looking for complete statues and not finding it. And this is the remnants of it. However, the other issue that comes out of all of this is that some of this stuff is marble, and we have no marble here. The only marble in the area would have been in Alexandria, it could have been in Turkey, it could have been in Rome. Whether or not they carved these outside of Israel or when they carved them here. We didn't have the artisans who were expert in doing this. But who would want to? Look what we got here. Entertainment today? Catastrophe, thousands of people were killed. From that period on, Greek theater had taken somewhat of a turn. First of all, for those of you who are familiar with Greek theater, Greek tragedies, you'll know that there were only 3, 4 players maximum. They would perform right in the central orchestra area. It always took place at night within the course of an hour, 2 hours, and the performance would be over. There would be 2 towers that would stand on the skene, the stage. By the way, the word skene, if it sounds like scene to you, that's because where the word comes from. On the skene, there were 2 towers, and Greek actors would come down with lighted torches at the conclusion of the tragedy in the orchestra. And then the show would end. The Romans would adapt that whole concept, and in their theaters, there would be a show taking place on the skene, on the stage, and it would go from, it wouldn't be at nighttime, it would be from morning until night. People would spend the entire day at the theater, and they would come in, they would come out, they would come to their theaters, and they would enter through these arches known as vomitoria. And it's called vomitoria not for, sitting in the sun. They would be drinking their favorite drink, which was wine mixed with water. They'd be getting sick during the day. You know what that's like, Greg? And then, where would they go to vomit? They couldn't vomit here. So you go into the vomitorium, and there was a side room, and if you noticed as we were walking through, there was like a little side area. Well, that's where they bar, and then they'd come back out, and they'd eat some more, drink some more, and just enjoy their day. Then during the course of the day, they would go over to this area of the vomitorium. You see right there where we found a picture that indicated that if you wanted love, you could date. So this is the place for the prostitute. And they would be able to go in there and find a prostitute, come back out here and vomit, and then go back in there and what a day! Honey, I'll be at the theater all day. You would sit in seats. Well, they would have been Roman numerals here as well 2,000 years ago. And when we're going to the theater, you buy a ticket, and it would indicate where you were sitting, just like it is today. You'd come in, and you'd watch the show. Now, in the days of this theater, when King Herod built it, he also built, there was a backdrop as well. And the height of that backdrop was as high as the last Tebe in the theater. So you had almost a complete thing because it's built in this kind of a shape. But in the days when this was a completed theater, it was almost completely around, and you'd be able to hear even a pin drop on the stage. And you'll see the difference that which is modern and which isn't. One of the limestone, and 90% of all of the stone in Israel is limestone. However,
well, coming back to 1990, Joseph Hussein was coming in a hardcore dream. The dream was exactly to be more graphic because he started from the sense. Don't need to have all of that on the left. The strength of my life is something from the left of the party. Seniority, response to the sound of old dry post can help the labs. Read my mic, keep my sight, and doesn't ever lead your right. It's strictly right.
Anything yet?
Right. It almost doesn't look real.
Like the lost city of Israel.
$560 billion times zoom on that.
Yeah.
This area that we're standing over right now, this is the Hippodrome. The Hippodrome is where the daily double. This is where Ben-Hur in his chariot racing against Stevie Boyd. Remember that? Well, that took place right here. Now, the end of it was all the way out there. You can see that there's a wall at the end of the Hippodrome. Right. This is from the rest of this. The Emperor of Rome, and he had slighted Mark Antony. You see, when Herod had invited the Romans into the war that was taking place between the two Maccabee brothers, Mark Antony, and their bitter battles that were taking place in Rome, and so Herod rightly had known which wagon to tie himself to. But there were times where that might have changed. And Mark Antony, as you know, had a girlfriend in Egypt named Cleopatra. And Herod decided at one point that he was going to give these pools and this palace to Cleopatra. And so these are referred to as Cleopatra's pools. It really never got to her, but it was good PR. And Herod looked real good to Mark Antony as well, without slighting Augustus, because as you know, Mark Antony would never rise to that power. But who knows? Maybe he would have. Maybe they would have given Judea to the Egyptians. Cleopatra always had her desire on the trip. No, these are not original columns. Almost have itself, and they are just historic columns, created columns. Just made
Good